What's going on, guys? Sam Adams here, and welcome to the worst of 2015, and these are all games that I think deserve a special recognition for being absolutely awful in the year 2015. And what's unfortunate about these games is that I think for all 5 that I chose, there was some kind of anticipation building up to the release of each title, and that's what's sad about it, because there was so much potential behind each of these games to be something good if there had been more work and more passion put behind the projects. But some of them tried really hard and kind of came up short. Some of them made bad, terrible business decisions, and some of them just were a glitchy, crappy mess that ruined my childhood, but that's all beside the point. These are all my opinion of the 5 worst games of 2015. So, starting off at number 5, we have Evolve, that came out early in the year, and ultimately a lot of people were excited about this game building up to the release, but as soon as the game came out, it got a ton of negative publicity because of the microtransactions within the game. Basically, there were over $100 worth of customization, skins, and weapon skins, and all that good stuff that doesn't really affect the gameplay, worth of content available to be purchased, and a lot of people felt like that should have been included with the base game and would have added a lot to the base game itself. But as people kind of got over that microtransactions hurdle and the game started to recover, people realized that the gameplay was extremely repetitive. Pretty much 5 people get into a lobby, and 4 of them play as hunters, 1 of them plays as a monster, and the 4 hunters have to try and track down the monster before it can evolve and take over whatever objective they have to take over. And I rented this game and also got into the beta early, and I played it for probably about 2 to 3 hours in total, and after that 2 to 3 hours, I felt like I had experienced all I could experience in the game. It would have been extremely repetitive from there on out, and those are a couple of the reasons why the game is having trouble selling for $15 at this point, because it was on sale recently and it has been on sale pretty frequently, but just not a lot of people are playing it and there isn't much interest in the game itself, and that is why Evolve comes in at number 5 on my top 5 worst games of 2015. Next off at number 4, we have Godzilla the game, that came out kind of halfway through the year, I believe, towards August, and whenever this game came out, a lot of people were hoping that it would be a Godzilla game that did the franchise justice. You know, pretty much just a destruction simulator where you could go around, you know, just wreaking havoc in a city, or you could do giant monster fights, which was shown off in some gameplay that was kind of doctored and whatnot. But whenever the game came out, people realized that this game was absolutely terrible. It looks like a late PlayStation 2 game, maybe like a day 1 PlayStation 3 game, but nowhere near the graphic fidelity that PlayStation 4 game deserves, and of course the textures were terrible. There were just a few buildings scattered here and out to settle for a city, and in general the game felt very incomplete. It felt like a pre-alpha version of the game, and it was just a huge letdown, but I do wish that they would make a good Godzilla game to do the franchise justice, because it definitely deserves it, and a lot of people would buy it, but this game was not that game, and that is why Godzilla gets number 4 on my top 5 worst games of 2015. Coming in at number 3, we have Battlefield Hardline, which is one that is extremely disappointing to a Battlefield fan like me. I've played, I started off really with Battlefield Bad Company 2, and then I played 3 and 4, and I was looking forward to Hardline. And the campaign I'm going to kind of leave out of this, even though it is pretty lackluster. It feels like an episode of CSI Miami, pretty much. But whenever it comes down to it, Battlefield Hardline feels like a big DLC pack for Battlefield 4, and that's what was mainly disappointing to me, because the concept of having a cop-style Battlefield game sounds great, but they should have put more work behind it. They should have brainstormed a little bit more to draw a distinction between Battlefield 4 and Battlefield Hardline, because whenever you sat down and played the game, you don't really feel that distinction, other than the fact that there are less weapons, less kinds of vehicles that can be used, and the maps are smaller. And of course, none of those factors factor into a good Battlefield game for the core Battlefield players. And to be honest, a lot of people that play Battlefield forgot that Hardline even came out this year and went back to Battlefield 4, and that is why Battlefield Hardline got my number 3 rank on the worst games of 2015. So coming in at number 2, we have Guitar Hero Live, and let me take you back to 2010, whenever Guitar Hero Warriors of Rock came out. People played the game, people enjoyed the game, but it was definitely a distinctive end for the franchise. It was time to call it quits, because they had started getting off track with DJ Hero, and a couple of the other franchises just weren't doing so hot, so music games generally faded out. As the years progressed, Rock Band became a staple of the social gaming atmosphere. If you had friends over, you would definitely play some Rock Band if you had the game, and Guitar Hero was generally put in a closet or traded in or played by the hardcore Guitar Hero fans, and that's pretty much where everyone assumed the franchises would end. However, 2015 proved that wrong, and actually Rock Band 4 and Guitar Hero Live came out, and Rock Band 4 has been relatively successful because it maintains that same algorithm of success that worked back in the day. You know, you've got the standard controller, the standard drum kit, the standard bass, vocals I believe are still included, and I think they kicked out the keyboard, but for the most part they maintain the same Rock Band algorithm, and it's working very well, and it maintained its fidelity throughout the years, which is awesome. But Guitar Hero Live switched everything up. Instead of having animated characters, you pretty much just have these pre-recorded crowds that kind of shift and have a kind of fade transition that react to the way you play, and that's all very kind of clunky in my personal opinion. And then they have this weird kind of music video mode, and then of course the controller, instead of having 5 buttons ranging from all kinds of different colors that you kind of feel like you're playing an actual guitar, you only use 3 fingers, and you actually have 6 buttons, so you just kind of have to roll over and play different buttons as the you know, notes come down the screen. And although it feels like a different kind of Guitar Hero, that's not what we needed in 2015. If you wanted to reinvent a franchise, you have to maintain that same kind of gameplay that you had back in the day to keep the old fans coming back, because in their minds they're thinking, hey, that's Guitar Hero, I know how to play that, there's probably new songs in that, there's probably better graphics in that, let me go ahead and pick that up. That's not what they did. They switched up the entire way the game looks and plays so that the old fans felt like they were being left out, and the new fans are left trying to learn something new whenever they've kind of heard of Guitar Hero and know how it should play. And so, for lack of good execution, I suppose, for lack of a better word, that is why Guitar Hero Live gets number 2 at my top 5 worst games of 2015. So, coming in at number 1 of the worst games of 2015 is actually going to be Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5, and I was really hoping that I wouldn't have to say that, because Tony Hawk's Pro Skater is one of my franchises that's kind of within me. It's one of those ones that made me who I am, and it's a huge part of my childhood. But with Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5, I was severely disappointed, and as soon as I put the disc into my Xbox One, I realized what they had done. So pretty much what was going on is that Activision had this contract with the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater brand that was ending at the end of 2015. So in an attempt to squeeze out as much money as they could from the hardcore Tony Hawk fans and from the skateboarding fan base as a whole, they pushed out Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5 before the end of 2015 so they could make revenue off of that name. Personally, I couldn't even get the game to work on my Xbox One on day 1, and I didn't even care to try it after that because I had seen some gameplay, and it is full of glitches and just poorly executed gameplay and lackluster graphics, and you have to have at least one of these 3 things to try and at least have some kind of good Tony Hawk game, because the other games were lacking in graphics, but they made up for it in gameplay, and there were some that were lacking in gameplay, but they made up for it in graphics, and in general, it was just, it had none of those. There was this weird smash feature where you could smash down on a rail and you could grind out the rail, but then whenever you landed, you would more than likely ragdoll and get stuck in a wall somewhere, or you would be grinding and you would get stuck in between 2 walls and go back and forth. There were tons of glitches that just made Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5 unplayable. There was very little story to even report, and the Free Skate Online mode was pretty glitchy, and in general, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5 was a huge letdown, not only because it was released as a Tony Hawk's Pro Skater game, but because of the fan base that it was there to serve. The people that still play Tony Hawk played it back in the day. The people that still play Tony Hawk are passionate about the franchise, and whenever you push out some piece of crap at the last minute to try and make a quick buck, that doesn't make the original fans of the franchise happy, and that is why Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5 gets number 1 on my worst games of 2015. So there you guys have it. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you did, drop me a like down below, and be sure to head over there and check out my best of 2015 video, which of course is talking about the best games of 2015, or at least those that I think are the best of 2015. I had a good time making it, and I bet you would have a good time watching it. And if you are new to the channel, or you've never seen any of my other content, I do upload new stuff like 3 or 4 days a week depending on the week, so there's always something new right here on the channel when you drop by to watch some videos. And as always, I want to thank each and every one of you guys for watching this particular video. I'll talk to you soon. Peace.